Good evening. Welcome to the Dixie Fire Evening Briefing and Operational Briefing. My name is Brian Elam. I'm the Plans Operations Section Chief for the Southern Area Gold Team here with you again tonight. And we've got a few questions we'll get to, but let's get some updates here of what went on today and what we've got planned. So down here in Whiskey, still working the Pacific Crest Trail. Probably another day or so of work. We here and there, we keep thinking that's going to get buttoned up, but we want to make it right, so they're still trying to get that buttoned there. As we come on up around the Meadow Valley, working these lines, buttoning it up, and those resources continue to push out towards DP 244 and 238, coming around towards Division Break. Several weeks still of work in here to do. As you get around into Division Uniform, there was some hand line being worked today in here and repair stuff being made, some fuel piles being rebuilt for later burning this winter. We did insert a crew in here in the Devil's Punch Bowl. We have talked about several days, and just putting boots on the ground there. It looked real good. They didn't find any heat walking that. So we'll look at it again tomorrow. We still have some hose and equipment in there we'll have to pull out if we deem that determined tomorrow. So we'll make that choice then. As we get down to here into Romeo, on this Grizzly Ridge, those folks are still progressing in there down in here to DP 606. Still finding some heat after the showers last night in those dozer berms, so still breaking those up, still trying to mitigate anything that they can find there. But that hazard tree removal continues along that road down below 606. As we come around in here to the Dixie Valley and Division Quebec, this work is nearly complete in here in the Dixie Valley. Working out here to tie into the Beckworth complex, which was a fire earlier this year, to get that buttoned up. Still got a couple of days to tie into the Division Break in here above to the north of Davis Lake, and we should have all that completed hopefully in a couple of days. But the additional resources continue to work up north. Up here in Papa, still working in here around this exclusion zone. Lots of work going on there, and a lot of work continues and will continue for the next week or 10 days. We hope to complete it by our tenure here, but we're having a hard time getting some equipment and competing with additional fires and other stuff that's going on. But we're still plugging away. The Upper Chance and the Lower Upper Chance, Last Chance Road work continues. Have a lot of down timber we need to move and get consolidated. Still have some heat on the ground in there in the shaded and protected areas, working on that and fixing those dozer lines as well. So as we come up here in November, this project still continues up in here. There's a lot of dozer line. We're still finding dozer line that's not on the map, so we're still having to get that logged in and get the resources in there to assess those lines, to make the recommendations for what type of repairs that are needed. Did start a little bit today in here above Janesville and working down in here towards Janesville. Probably several weeks worth of work, but we're getting started in there and get that finished up. So as we come in here just north of Taylorsville, got some work getting ready to start in here across the valley. So a little bit of dozer line in there that we're going to start making some repairs on. We'll have a full night shift out there tonight, patrolling and monitoring. With the showers last night, there wasn't any heat reported, wasn't any smokes found, and we probably expect that again tonight because of the showers and the residual moisture in the soil. But we expect things to dry out over the next 5 to 6 days, and some of that residual heat will start to show itself, which leads us into our first question of the needle cast and some of the reburn potential there. So if you look at a pine tree and we think of them as being an evergreen, they are. But they still lose needles. Every year a pine tree will lose about 1/3 of its needles in needle cast in the fall. It's just a way for the tree to conserve moisture, conserve energy, to get through difficult time in the winter. So with the fire coming through in the summertime and heating those needles up, it may kill the tree, it may not kill the tree, depending on the amount of heat. Even though the whole tree is brown, those brown needles act like typical fall drop. So with the wind and the showers last night and the last couple of days, we call that needle cast. That needle gets cast off the tree, lands on the ground, and you just get a light buildup of that on the ground. You know, as that builds up, if it finds a stump hole, if it finds, you know, some heat in a dozer line that's interior that we don't know about, even if we do know about it, you know, it's not a concern if it's several miles in that there is that potential for a reburn. It hits that heat, the needles heat up, and then it burns. Intensity, you know, we're talking usually 1 to 2 flame lengths at most. With strong winds, it can get 3 to 4 foot. So still fairly easy to contain, but I know it's a concern to you, and it's a concern to us too, because we don't want that moving around in that needle cast. So there is some work and some questions on Papa that I'm going to have to do some research on, and we'll get back with those at a later date, either tonight in the comment section or on the camera tomorrow. The Meadow Mountains Reservoir is another project that I'm going to have to search. If you see this orange dotted line here, that is the division between the east zone and the west zone. There's a different team on the west zone, and most of this Meadow Valley area and the Meadow Valley Reservoir is in that west zone response. So that is under their jurisdiction and not ours. Ours here is quite big, about 670,000 acres, the best we figure, mapping the lines. And just for a little tidbit like I had last night, that part of our fire is 16 times bigger than the city of San Francisco. So that's it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Okay, friends, so we're doing video roundup right now. Partly the idea is save my voice. I'm kind of losing my voice after talking for basically 70 days in a row, nonstop, 14 hours a day on average. Even radio announcers only do that for about 4 hours a day. So my voice is a bit ragged. I'm trying to save it. Video roundup for a while is a good thing. And at the same time, I'm looking at dropped frames in my internet upload. I spent some time today online with the troubleshooting with them, and the construction nearby is causing issues so bad they're going to take off. They're going to take the internet down for the neighborhood every single night between the hours of like 2 and 5 a.m. For like a week. So I don't know what I'm going to do about having a 24-hour kind of a stream right now. So I'm trying to figure it out. So the other videos that we have, that was Lassen, that was the Dixie East Zone nightly update. We have a community meeting for Caldor we can do, but I wanted to see if there's a Dixie West Zone. That would be on Lassen Modoc, wouldn't it? Thanks everybody who's hit the like and of course the subscribe button the most. That's what helps the channel become a trending channel. Even if you don't want any notifications, you could hit the subscribe button and it would help me reach people with the message. YouTube doesn't really connect people with what they're looking for or what they search for. YouTube only connects people with a trending, you know, more likes, more subscribers thing. It's a algorithm that we're trying to work with here. So thanks everybody who's shared the link with others, and especially those who hit the subscribe button. The little ringing bell is your setting. If you want to know every time we go live, you make it ring, and you'll know every time we go live. And the middle ground is like occasionally you'll get an update, and there's like an off button on the bell too. Whichever one you choose. it helps the stream, and I'm really grateful. I was hoping for a video here, a West Zone operational. Here it is. That was 7 hours ago. So I feel like we already watched that. Maybe not. Let's try it out. Let me see if I remember this.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Casey Cheeseborough, Operations Section Chief with Rocky Mountain Team Black.
Yeah, I think we already watched this. How is the stream doing? Is there like, is it buffering or looking weird or getting fuzzy? It's going constantly red. On my stream. I'm hoping it's better now. But I'm pulling my hair out. This construction is real bad. AC probe. They're going to force me to get some sleep with all the internet shut down. No, I was going to sleep anyway. I was about to go to sleep, but I thought I'd go live with a video roundup. I'm dragging. I got good sleep yesterday, but I'm just exhausted. 77 days of doing a stream without rest. Like, I've gotten 7 days total where I've taken a day off, but not even a full 24 hours, just like 12-hour chunks. I kind of at the end here, unless I get a mini vacation soon. So I was just going to set it on and let you guys monitor it throughout the night. But with the internet interruptions that are scheduled now, what would be the point, you know? All right, let's watch the West Zone. This is from 7 hours ago, but here we go.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Casey Cheeseborough, Operations Section Chief with Rocky Mountain Team Black. I'm here to give you the morning operational update for the Dixie Fire West Zone for September 28th. No additional growth on the fire yesterday, still sitting at 94% containment. Really good day yesterday for the crews. We had that critical weather coming in with the dry air mass, windy weather coming in, and everything continued to hold. Had an increase in smoke throughout the fire area, but crews were able to hold on to any contained edge that we had out there. So no slop overs, no spot fires, just a really good day. We were helped out with the weather a little bit early. The rain came in about 4 to 5 hours earlier than what we thought it would. And reports are showing that we received rain across the entire fire, although the amounts do vary. It had up to a ½ inch in certain areas and as low as about 4/100 of an inch in other areas. So crews are out there today assessing kind of what that rain did for our future operations, but good news all the way around there. We'll just start over here down at the very south end of the zone. Everything continues to look really good up here through Butte Meadows. No issues there yesterday. Any smokes that people were seeing were well interior of the line, no threat to our containment. And then coming up here into our Division Kilo and Lima towards the National Park, things looked really good in that area, still continuing a lot of our suppression repair efforts within the national park. That's all going really well, getting more equipment in to help clean that up. So some of that equipment will be working out on the highway today, cleaning some of the debris up out there. So really, really happy that we're getting that equipment here to keep making progress on that operation. Coming up here near Old Station, no issues there yesterday. Again, increase in smoke, but everything well interior, nothing that was identified as a threat by any of our crews out there. As we come up around near Fall River Mills, around the north end of the fire, again, everything looked really good. I had crews spread out here yesterday just monitoring everything, but with the increase in wind, we did back some of the crews out to the main roads just due to the snag hazard with some of the burned trees there. Had an increase in trees coming down, so for crew safety, we did pull those folks out to the main roads just to keep them safe. And then coming down here out towards Highway 44, no issues out there. Everything again looking really good down here into Silver Lake. Really the same story, just increase in smoke, but no threat. Still continuing all the suppression repair efforts down in that area, cleaning up some of those dozer lines and working around some of the residences and whatnot in there, helping clean that area up. And then down into Westwood, Almanor, and Chester in that area, really looking good in there. Again, a lot of the Cal Fire resources working in there, getting a lot of good suppression repair work done, and then just dealing with some of those smokes that are near the line, making sure we don't have any issues. But that would be the area where we got the least amount of rain, was down around Lake Almanor, so we'll really be focusing some efforts in there to make sure that things are looking good. Our concerns going forward, with that wind, we did get a lot more needles coming off of the burned trees, so that reburn, I think, has been talked about in the past with the needles on the ground, having that ability to reignite and start burning near containment lines, so crews will really be focusing on that. Really the challenge is just the sheer scale of the fire, obviously making sure we have our resources in the right areas to jump on anything as quickly as possible. Did want to just remind everybody we have the forest closure still in place. It's the blue line on this map. I believe on the Lassen National Forest webpage you can find a map also with that closure. And then all of Lassen National Park is closed as well. So just want to remind the public that those areas are closed. That's for the safety of both the public and the fire personnel as well. So just ask that you guys stay out of that area for now and be patient with us on that. That's all I have for today. Thank you.
Okay, once again, that was the only video we've got for the West Zone, and it was one we saw earlier 7 hours ago, but why not? Some people may not have seen it. So to spare my voice, we're doing video roundup. Let's go to the Caldor community meeting. That would be Wildfire, Amador, El Dorado. That's it. Wait a second. Where's the 5 p.m.? That's an operational briefing. Oh, Lake Tahoe Service Unit. Forgot about that. Okay. There we go. Real-time comments. And you should have a countdown so you know where to put the thing.
The Interagency Incident Management Team 12. Thank you for joining us tonight on our Caldor community meeting. Usually I'm the one that's behind the screen answering questions. However, tonight I wanted to come out from behind the screen and say thank you to the communities of El Dorado, Amador, Alpine, and Douglas counties for having an open dialect with our information team. This will be the last community meeting held by Team 12, and I hope that throughout our time together, we fulfilled our duties of informing you not only of the situation of the fire, but many varied aspects in the influence fire and their effects on your community. The fire is currently holding at 221,774 acres. Containment is at 76%. There's a total of 1,480 personnel that's serving on this incident. We have a full agenda for you this evening. In addition to providing our regular updates on weather and fire operations, we'll have a special guest who will provide an overview on the U.S. Forest Service Burned Area Emergency Response Program, as well as El Dorado National Forest Supervisor Jeff Marsolais. In our previous community meetings, if you have any questions, please put those in the comment section and we'll answer them before we close out. Our first guest tonight will be Sean Palmquist with the incident weather forecast.
Hi everyone, Sean Palmquist. I'm one of the incident meteorologists here on the Caldor fire. So that cold front that brought critical fire weather conditions yesterday also brought some beneficial rainfall overnight. We saw anywhere from 1/10 up to 2/10 of an inch of rain over most of the fire. Today, behind that cold front, we saw much cooler conditions with higher relative humidity. It was beneficial all around. Heading into tomorrow, however, we do start to enter a warm and drying trend, so that beneficial rainfall will be short-lived. We're looking at warming and drying continuing through the week as high pressure builds over the region once again. On the good side of things, however, is that winds look to be fairly light. If you're in the valleys down by South Lake, expect to see some pretty cold temperatures the next couple of nights. We're looking at lows down into the 20s, so much colder than we've seen in a while. That's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Our next speaker is going to be Operations Second Chief Al Ward with Team 12.
Good evening, everyone. Al Ward, Operations Section Chief, and I'm going to take you for a trip around the fire. Okay, we started off and we base everything we do on the current and predicted fire behavior, and with our forecast and our F-band, we had moderated fire behavior today. We were very worried, or we had elevated concerns yesterday because of the wind, but because we got that precipitation, it actually moderated fire behavior. So across the fire, as the IMET said, we had moderated fire behavior. How did that affect what we did today? So in Division Quebec, that gave us opportunities to secure that edge that was between Strawberry and Lake Margaret, the area of a few days back, we did a firing operation there. It gave us the opportunity to secure that edge because we didn't have the wind, which isn't good for us to go in to those areas with fire weakened trees. We did not have the wind, so we were able to go deeper into those areas today with a lot of the personnel that we had there to secure that edge. One of the reports that we got overnight was an area by the old burn scar from the Caples fire. So we were also able to work that area as well to suppress that. Moving around to our second priority, which remains India Mike up on the north end of the fire. Two things happened up there. We were able to work those areas as well because of the moderated fire behavior with the IR signatures, and we go and do what's called seek and destroy. We look for those areas and try and put those out to secure the edge. We also had an opportunity to fly over the Smith fire up above and assess that. Very hard to see, not a whole lot of smoke. Not even any aircraft required today on that fire because it's looking really good. So we're still assessing that. Coming down to Division Romeo at the bottom there, that area of concern that you see there in red, we also put people in there today to find those heat signatures near the line and suppress those. And then the last one that we had that was an area of concern that we got questions about was up by Trimmer Peak up above the elementary school. So we were able to also access that area as well and address those concerns. Then we also have suppression repair going across the whole fire. Suppression repair is the act of cleaning up all of the lines that we used, that we had to punch in to create fire breaks. And so that helps with the erosion so that you don't end up with all of that runoff going in or unwanted runoff into the lake. So we continued that today. We had a good, strong day at that as well. Once again, I would also like to say it was a pleasure and an honor to serve you. I'm part of Team 12 and we are being relieved by Team 13. So you will be in the trusty hands of Team 13 to provide you the information that you need moving forward. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Al, for the information and update. Our next speaker is going to be Emma Williams. She's with the U.S. Forest Service Burn Area Emergency Response Programs.
Good evening. My name's Emma Williams. I'm the Burned Area Emergency Response, or BEAR Coordinator on the Lake Tahoe Basin Management Unit. I'm here to give you a brief introduction of the BEAR process, and I have a few slides to go over that process. So first, what is BEAR? BEAR is a risk management program by the Forest Service to assess and respond to imminent threats to life, safety, property, and critical natural and cultural resources that could be affected following the fire. And so it's really a risk management program that is preventative in nature. And The post-fire recovery process is long, and it has multiple phases, and so BEAR is just one component of that. Other components are what Operations Section Chief Al just described in terms of suppression repair. That's still ongoing on the Caldor fire. There's restoration of fire-related damages. There's repair of post-fire flood damages, and there's long-term restoration. And so BEAR is just one piece of that, but not any of those other things. And so BEAR is a methodical process involving two primary phases, the assessment and then the response. And so there's 5 separate steps. So the first is to identify the critical values that could be affected by the burned environment or downstream of it. Assess those critical values for threats. Evaluate risk and make a determination of whether that risk is acceptable or not. If it's unacceptable, then the BEAR team develops a response strategy and implements that strategy. And so the BEAR team is made up of an interdisciplinary team of specialists from hydrologists, soil scientists, archaeologists, botanists, biologists, recreation specialists, hazmat specialists. It's a large and interdisciplinary team of specialists evaluating these risks. And what these critical values look like for the Caldor fire, as many of you know and are near and dear to you, are trail and road infrastructure, our water quality, and infrastructure that is downstream of the burned area that could potentially be impacted by elevated flows in a damaging storm event. And so all of these critical values have been identified by the burned area emergency response team. They've been evaluated for risk, and tomorrow there will be a presentation to the agency administrators on each of the forests about potential response actions. So what about risks off of Forest Service lands or to values off of the National Forest? Well, there are a variety of agencies and partners that are evaluating these risks and can support responses to flood events or other risks associated with the burned area. For one of the, you can find a lot more information on the Caldor Fire's burned area emergency response assessment, including maps of the fire severity across watersheds and a lot more information on the process at the NCWeb website. So thank you.
Thank you, Emma, for that information. Our next speaker will be from the El Dorado National Forest, Jeff Marcelez.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Jeff Marcelez, the Forest Supervisor for the El Dorado National Forest. And I have two kind of large updates for you. First, over the last many weeks, lots and lots and lots of questions about the closure on the El Dorado. And I've stood here off and on over the last few weeks, and I've said the same thing repeatedly. It does nobody any good to have your public lands closed, except in one condition, where we don't think we can get you out of harm's way in the event of one of these parts of this fire exploding. 45 days ago, when the Caldor fire started, we saw extreme fire growth. And based upon that, a few days later, we saw a 45,000 acre growth day. And so we've looked at the fuel conditions and we've looked at the maps and we've been very, very conservative. But in the last few days, particularly getting through this red flag event of the last day and a half and looking at the progress being made, I feel very comfortable with being ready to make some adjustments to the forest closure. So you'll start to see some public information come out from my office and from the team tomorrow. And that'll start to signal some of the changes that we're going to see on the El Dorado National Forest side. I can tell you in general, we're going to be shrinking the closure to be much closer to the footprint of the fire. Now, there will be areas that are outside of the immediate footprint of the fire where we think there still is possibility for potential fire spread. And in those places where we think that could happen in an explosive nature, we're going to try to keep that closed at least for another couple of weeks while we monitor the conditions. But in general, I expect by Thursday for us to shrink the El Dorado forest closure to be very near to the edge of the fire. Only those areas surrounding the fire where we think there could be some of that explosive fire growth. On top of that, there's going to be a few additional restrictions. Those restrictions will include no overnight camping, at least for a couple of weeks while we monitor the weather conditions. That's consistent with some of the adjoining national forests. And there will also be an extreme set of fire restrictions in place, no open flame of any kind, much like you see on the adjoining national forest. So stay tuned. We'll have some information coming out tomorrow related to that. And it'll be important that folks know that we're going to track that closely. And when we think we can make the adjustments to give better access or give you opportunities to stay overnight, we're going to do that too. We're well aware it's hunting season. We're well aware folks want to be back in their national forest, and we're going to try to make every adjustment possible. So I anticipate most of the north half of the forest, Ice House Road and up, to be open starting Thursday, and those maps will be released here shortly. And then many of the traditional activities that you would expect to engage in will be back open for you. So the other thing I'd like to talk about tonight is, it's Team 12's last night. And I have to just say a personal thanks to Incident Commander Nobles and the entire team. They had the auspicious duties of taking 3 incident command teams and blending the fire back into a single incident. If you might remember, 2 weeks ago, the fire was zoned with a federal incident command team on this side in Lake Tahoe and a CAL FIRE and a Forest Service incident command team on the Placerville side. You were able to get your arms all the way around this, get those suppression activities underway, and continue to make substantial progress on the fire. A deep, heartfelt thank you to you and the team, and really on behalf of the partnership that set this up to begin with, my CAL FIRE friends, Chief Mike Blankenheim, who was the original agency administrator along with me. You guys have done a remarkable job to continue the good work of all the incident command teams. So deep appreciation. Thank you for the team. Welcome, a hearty welcome to incoming Team 13. We know you guys will do just as good a job moving forward, and we're glad to be with you tonight.
Thank you, Jeff. It's been a pleasure working with you also. Our next will be Incident Commander Mike Nobles.
So good evening, and thank you for that, Jeff. It's been a grueling, an amazing, and a heartfelt assignment as we partnered together to kind of get the Caldor fire closer to containment. And when I say closer, because there's still a lot of work to do, still in some suppression efforts and as well as suppression repair. But, the support that we received with our CAL FIRE partners, as you mentioned, our Cal OES partners, and then the collaboration with PG&E, AT&T, Caltrans, El Dorado County Sheriff, it's been a real honor, a blessing, and a pleasure to be a part of this group to help serve the communities. And on top of that, the most heartfelt thing was the amazing loving and compassionate support that we received from the community. That just really, as I engaged with the firefighters daily, you just saw this extra spark in their eye and the spirit just because of the level of support. Being out there at 6 o'clock in the morning, cold temperatures, smiles, and engaging the firefighters, and really just that support in coming from a community that's been impacted, right? They weren't looking at how they've been impacted. They still have the depth of love and compassion to support. So that's been a really amazing to be a part of. I'll never forget that. And Lake Tahoe and El Dorado County, Alpine County, it's going to be a special place in my heart. I'll be bringing my family basically back up here to share in the community, because you all are a great bunch of folks. And as has mentioned, we are transitioning with California Interagency Incident Management Team 13, Incident Commander Michael Wachowski. So anything I can do, he can do better. So I'd like to introduce him for some words.
I don't know about that. Mike and I have been friends a long time. I just want to say something that really moved me today. And I get all choked up with this. I'm driving. I went and got a T-shirt today because that's my thing. I like to get T-shirts. So I'm driving up the road, the ski resort road, and there's a lady standing in the middle of the road just about with a sign waving, "Thank you, firefighters," over, and she's waving at everybody. That's the kind of community that you have in this area, and it just was heartfelt to me. So we'll be able to pick up the ball where Mike left. As you know, things are changing. Things are starting to, the days are getting shorter. It's getting cooler, and the fire activity is waning. So we're going to work on that. We're going to start right-sizing the incident. You'll see some movement. We'll make sure that everybody knows what's going on, and there won't be any surprises. So other than that, that's all I have. We're glad to be here, and we're here to serve you. So thanks.
Thank you, sir. Now we're going to go into our question and answers from the viewers, and I believe Al Ward is up first.
Okay, so I have 4 questions I'd like to address. 2 of them are related to the same area, so I'll address that first, and that's Echo Lakes. Echo Lakes is right by drop point 62, right at the division break of Division Quebec and Division Papa. The south side of that lake right there, we got reports from our people out on the ground that there's still interior smoke. So if you remember a few days back, we talked about the different types of smokes that you're going to call in for us. One's going to be an interior island or a flare-up. And we had the precipitation for today, which moderated a lot of the fire behavior, but as the IMED said, that was a light amount of precipitation. As that precipitation goes away with the dry air mass that comes in, you're going to continue to see smokes in those areas. We still have people working that area, but there's still that hazard tree concern. So as they work their way in, mitigating the hazard trees to get to what's causing that smoke, we still are addressing that area. So that's an update on the Echo Lakes area. The second question that I had has to do with the Smith fire. As we mentioned, the Smith fire, we flew air attack up over that fire. Air attack flew with some of the local hotshot superintendents to best figure out how to insert people into that fire. But as they flew over it, the weather once again moderated that fire so much that it didn't even require bucket drops today. There's minimal activity in that area. So that's an update on that area. The Rubicon fire, about 14 air miles due northeast of Pollock Pines was the Rubicon fire outside of our TFR, temporary flight restriction area, which is the area that the incident owns to do initial response in. But we did surge resources from this incident to that incident to help mitigate it. And all of the resources that we surge are now back onto this incident because they were able to get around it to the point where they didn't need assistance anymore. That's an update on the Rubicon fire. And the last question is, how do you come up with 76% containment? So the short answer to that is every night when our division supervisors come in, they provide, and then we also have field observers that go out and ground truth what is actually contained line. So everything that you still see in red is unsecured fire's edge. If you can compare that to the black line, we put that into our situation unit, and that's how we arrive at that number. Hopefully those answered your questions.
Thank you, Al, for the responses. Our next one will be Jeff Marcelez.
Okay, a couple questions tonight about, the first is, When will cabin permittees be able to stay in their cabins overnight? Well, tricky question, actually. We have cabin tracks all over the National Forest. And so, especially as we make changes to the closure order, that's going to give full access to those folks who are outside the closure. If you're a cabin owner who is inside the closure after we shrink that, there's a continued process we've used all the way along. You all know who your permit administrators are. What I'd say is reach out to your permit administrator. We have what's called a Form 7700. We take that form and we work with the operations section chief and we evaluate risk. The risk of being there during the day, the risk of being there overnight, and we make a decision based upon what we think predicted conditions are for whether or not you can stay overnight or even have access at all. And all throughout the duration of this incident, we've made those adjustments. Now, I will tell you, there is a significant amount of suppression repair going on in many of these areas. I can tell you, if you're a cabin owner in the Wrights Lake area, we have a pretty significant tub grinder that's going to be out there doing some real significant restoration work, and that's going to be ongoing for the next couple of weeks. Whether or not we can give you access or not will be dependent on that operation. It will also be dependent upon the fires you heard Al talk about, this unsecured bit of line up here in Lake Aloha, the Smith fire, and others. So what I'd say is you reach out to your permit administrator, they'll get to the district ranger, and we'll have a conversation with operations about the safety and security of that activity. The other question, please give us an update on Mormon Immigrant Trail closure. So, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm just going to be straight. You're likely not to see access along the Mormon Immigrant Trail the rest of this year and maybe deep into the spring. And here's why. There are huge portions of that road that had to stand replacing burning event where it's just standing dead sticks. And we know fire weakened trees fall over in the wind. We know fire weakened trees fall over for no reason. They just fall over. And we can't have the public out there driving the roads when there's that potential. I will also say this. We have a significant hazard tree removal activity underway, and I'm proud to say our forest and the team has really gone after mitigating those hazards, but I cannot in good conscience suggest that there's going to be access before we get snowed out. So that's the status. Of course, the public will be the first to know if I come off of that position or we're making significant progress. We'll make sure the press releases are out, just like we always do, but there's a good chance you're not going to see access to MET anytime in the foreseeable future. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. Our final speaker with question to answer will be Emma Williams.
All right, so I got a great question of who will be making the forest healthy again. And so this is a question very near and dear to my heart as a botanist and a restoration ecologist. So I'm going to put on another hat for a moment as the lead resource advisor on the Caldor fire to talk about one of the things we're doing right now to start making the forest healthy again. And that is to repair some of the suppression features that were constructed during the firefight. So you may have seen some of the lines constructed by bulldozers and other firefighting resources to protect all of the resources around the fire area. So we're working hard to repair those sites so that they can become productive and recover. Another phase is going to be the fact that there's a lot of natural recovery that's going to be happening within the burned area. These vegetation communities that are affected by the Caldor fire, many of them are very resilient to some of the types of fire that was seen on the landscape. They adapted to certain types of fire at certain intervals, and so there will be some benefits and some recovery really soon after the fire. In other areas where it burned at higher severity, especially those in larger patches, so some of those places that Supervisor Marcellet was talking about, those are going to take a lot longer to recover because they may have burned in a way that they're not adapted to. So In those areas on forest, there will be an evaluation of needs for longer-term restoration, including whether tree planting or other types of restoration measures may be necessary to help make the forest healthy again. And a lot of these phases after the fire, of post-fire recovery, are done in close partnership with the communities that interact with these forests and who love these forests just as much as your Forest Service servants. So I hope that helps answer that question.
Thank you, Emma. Again, on behalf of Team 12s and especially the information team, we'd like to say thank you to the community for accepting us in and giving all the firefighters and first responders thank yous for working on the Caldor fire. This is going to conclude our English version of tonight's community meeting. Now we're going to bring up Adelene, who will do the summary in Spanish speaking. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, chat. I've never been more proud of the comedy. I tuned out half of what they were saying about the whole reopening the trail thing. I just couldn't. Wow, you guys are on a roll. So the idea is we're doing video roundup. I'm losing my voice, and so we're gonna go on to the next fire. Looks great. We have dodged such a bullet, friends, in the last red flag hours and the windy conditions and the fire watch conditions on every single one of the fires. It's been way better than it could have been with the considering the forecast. It was way wetter than they thought at Tahoe. They basically got up in front of the podium just now and said, well, we were freaked out. You could even tell they were freaked out. He used the words very worried, and then he corrected himself. I mean concerned. Freudian slip. They were very worried. In fact, they were nervous as all heck in the last couple of meetings and morning operational briefings because the whole 60-mile-an-hour wind gust with almost no rain or moisture in the forecast. But it turned out, once again, Tahoe, there was some medicine men or something looking out for Tahoe because they got just enough water for to avert disaster and actually be beneficial. The same thing, Dixie, Monument, McFarland, McCash, sorry, not McFarland, but McCash, and then presumably the Antelope. Just wow, the Windy and the KNP could have exploded, and there was just enough moisture and cloud cover that it didn't, and they had upper atmosphere winds, so the peaks burned. And down in the valleys, it was a smolder, and the winds shifted around just enough so that the KNP and the Windy in different directions every couple of days. That gave them the perfect opportunity to light backfires. And so when the wind shifted back towards communities, it pretty much met a line of scorched earth, like Johnsondale and I want to say Ponderosa over there. And it did impact, of course, Sugarloaf. We're not sure how badly. I keep looking back, trying to see if there's been an update. But then they arrived and did structure protection, and the wind shifted away from it, and then they lit backfires, and now it's looking better for places like California Hot Springs and Pine Flat, because it was on the brink of destruction when the wind shifted. Amazing. Just enough wind to blow away smoke, and not enough to really fan the flames. And they got some aircraft on it again. It's just, I am breathing such a sigh of relief. I don't know about you guys. That could have been bad. Not just bad, but like bad. So, let's see. The next video, I think it was Sequoia Kings Canyon. I don't think they have a video today. We'll look at, yeah, it was an operational update for the morning. We don't have one, don't have a community meeting. It's going to be tomorrow. So for the Forest Service, for the Windy, we might have an update. It's probably just something I have to read. I asked the question. I was hoping at their next update they would answer it. I said, hello, thank you for doing such a good job communicating with the public. Question: what is the reasoning behind the repop talk of Camp Nelson, California hot springs, etc.? What current conditions are in place for keeping them relatively safe for now? And is it fire ops, line strength, weather forecast, or all of the above? Which conditions would necessitate re-evacuation? Thank you. So maybe they'll address that at some meetings or something. 2 hours ago, they had an update. It says the windy fire. Sorry, let me change my bottom screen message to windy update 2 hours ago. Release. Okay, and by the way, if you're looking at chat wondering what the heck is going on, I can't make this up. It's not chat being weird. We're not being weird, I swear to God. We're being dismayed. CBS, San Francisco Bay Area update: woman accused of starting the Fawn fire was attempting to boil bear urine to drink. Okay, okay, yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that. So, going back to the video roundup. So people are making jokes about that in chat. That's what it's about. It's nothing sick. I mean, that is just straight up from the news. We can't deal with that in any way except with humor, because how else are you going to deal with that? Okay, back to the task. The Windy Fire is currently estimated to be 87,709 acres, which is about a almost 400-acre increase from Tuesday morning's reported acreage. The reason they say estimated is it's really hard to figure out how big a fire is if there's cloud cover. They may not be able to fly the recon plane in the night with the infrared. Same thing at the Caldor. They tried to do that, but the clouds will get in the way of the infrared, because the infrared detects heat and the clouds are cold and they're in the way. So there were no spot fires today. Yes, along the eastern perimeter, from Ponderosa to Johnsondale. Crews extinguished hot spots along the fire lines, which held today despite being thoroughly tested by the strong winds. South of Johnsondale to Baker Point, the fire continues to move east, down the slope towards M99 corridor and the Kern River. Firefighters are scouting the hiking trail along Tobias Creek as a place to stop the fire's eastward advance. Meaning they don't know where they can stop it, but they're looking. Crews also finished wrapping the Baker Point lookout. Well, I hope they nail it down this time. We need to get a fundraiser for some staple guns, because it ripped that wrap stuff ripped right off of the Tobias Peak lookout, and it wasn't even 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts. It was pretty mild, and then we saw a shower of sparks rain down upon it. So, maybe staple guns would be good. Same thing that happened at Dyer Peak lookout, and maybe that's why Mule Peak lookout burned to the ground. So we were really on pins and needles about that. They did not take the extra step of putting chicken wire on Tobias Peak lookout, and that's why it kind of came right off. So that's in the instruction manual. But hopefully they have staple guns or chicken wire this time. South of Tobias Peak, the full suppression strategy involves constructing indirect containment lines because the area is too steep and full of hazardous snags for crews to safely suppress the fire directly. And that's what we keep hearing is, don't blame them. If there is a dead tree on the landscape near them, firefighters can't get near it. And one of the number one causes of firefighter fatalities is a snag. It's a tree, it's dead, it's standing up, and that's it. But they burn through the heartwood. Normal trees don't really fall down in a fire unless they're weakened by something, some other random thing, like half eaten by a beaver or something. But a snag is a dead tree, and so it'll burn through the heartwood, and you can't see how weak it is on the inside, and just randomly it'll shatter apart. And 3 firefighters were nearly killed by one on the Dixie. And so if they're working underneath these things, it's just a death wish. You'll eventually have one fall on you. Maybe a 500-pound chunk, maybe a 1,000-pound. With these massive sequoias, maybe it would weigh 5,000 pounds or more. It would be on fire. So even if you were pinned, that's a terrible fate. And even if it doesn't fall on you or your crew, it could fall across the road and trap you both ways, and then the fire could sweep over the crew. So you can't blame them. So south of Tobias Peak, that full suppression strategy involves constructing indirect containment lines. Well, because the area is too steep and full of hazardous snags for crews to safely suppress the fire directly. However, on the southwest side of the fire, direct suppression is more feasible. Although indirect lines aren't being constructed, they are there as a backup plan. Firefighters are using direct suppression tactics along much of the southwestern and the western side, getting in closer to the fire's edge to minimize its footprint. Going direct means standing directly in front of it and saying, "You shall not pass." That's what direct means. It means like reach out and touch flame, you know? Sorry, that's a really cheesy... I got that song in my head now. But you get the idea. On the northwest side, conditions allow the crews to complete multi-day firing ops between the 2 1/4 road and Wheaton's. Perfect. That's what I'm talking about. The fire was moved. Whenever there's high winds, there's at least one benefit if they're going the same direction the entire day. If they're predictable, then they can do backfiring with confidence. It means go to the edge of a community, light a fire, and have it meet the fire to make a scorched earth line. And when it comes back the next day or the next day, blowing towards the community, well, there's nothing for it to eat anymore. It just reaches the line of scorched earth, and that's that. Relatively easy to deal with if they can pull it off. And you can only pull it off when the wind's blowing the one direction for most of the day. So it's just excellent. So Wheaton's is looking better now that they're able to complete that. Now, aircraft are available and they are ready to assist, but have been hampered in many areas by the thick smoke. Well, at least they were a little bit working the west side yesterday. So this is a very interesting photo. This is what heartwood means. Heartwood oftentimes is the center of a tree that kind of forms the shape of a heart. It may be where that word comes from. I don't know. And when it's eaten through by insects, bugs, or fire, whatever, that's a result. Now, the funny thing about a tree is the bark is what's fire resistant in trees. In sequoias, it's almost completely fireproof, except under extreme conditions. So with sequoias, they're especially dangerous, or redwoods, because the heartwood will be eaten through and it's hollow now and it's really weak. But you can't see that from the outside. This even looks like a heart. It's pretty marvelous. I'm looking for who might have taken the photo. It's presumably a Forest Service person or a firefighter, but they're not actually being credited. So here we've got another picture of, I don't know where they are. Could be Camp Nelson or something. It's hard to say. So that is our written update. There's a public meeting tomorrow. It's at 7. I'll try to be online for that. And then it may be troubled, you know, where it has starts and stops, but we'll give it a go. They have some pretty bad Wi-Fi, the areas where they've tried to make their videos. So I wanted to go back and look at the chat. Dusty Smoke says, yeah, it's the wood at the heart of the tree. There you go. Thanks. But I do see a lot of cross sections where it makes that shape in some species. It's kind of interesting how that works. So, oh my God, chat is aflame with some pretty dang amazing jokes. Oh man, I may have to read that out loud one day. Holy mackerel! But keep it. No adult content, please. Okay, so we've gone through Caldor. That's the windy update. The K&P has a sweet map. Now, you know, the community asked for a map and they delivered. There you go. To view the larger portion of the map, they finally put it on InstaWeb. Looks like, guys, I may not have to make a website for them after all. We were very dismayed to watch their last community meeting, and the community said, where's the maps? Today's maps are not accurate on InstaWeb. Where are they? And InstaWeb, you know, the government's depository for everything fire. It's supposed to be one-stop shopping for most fires. The maps the press releases, the updates, the announcements, the road closures, the evacuations. That's supposed to be what InstaWeb is about. The photos. They ran out of server room, and the government apparently didn't press the button to buy more. And it's as weird as this. It's like going to people who are not familiar with the internet and web design. That's what I went to school for. It's like going to a bookstore and saying, I want to buy some books. And you're like, well, we can't get a bookcase, though, to add more books in our store. Sorry. It's like, well, the furniture store is right next door. Why don't you go get one? It's literally right next door. Well, for some reason, we can't do that. Do you not have money? Like, yeah, we have money. So why is that not happening? That's the weird thing about it. You just press a button and you add the server space. It's actually really dang cheap. These maps are like 6, 7 megabytes in size. The fact that they can't upload a 7 megabyte map just for the public in a crisis and a disaster event is something that we are all very, very alarmed at. It's the sign of the decline of empire. It's just the Roman Empire, when it fell, you couldn't order a sword for the army, and so they started using sticks and spears because the bureaucracy chain of command was so bad that they couldn't even get swords anymore. It was like, there's the foundry. Do you not have iron? Yeah, we do. Well, okay. Can you not pour the molds? Do you not have blacksmiths? Yeah, we do. But there's a protocol. You see. Okay. So there's a reason they called it Byzantine. That's how the Byzantine Empire fell. It's just everything shut down. It's non-functional, but hopefully they've done something. Unfortunately, what they decided to do initially was we're going to delete old info about fires. That's like deleting history. If I want to go back and tell somebody that something happened and look at a map, like, it's not going to be there. And that's how conspiracy theorist stuff takes off. It's just, okay. So that's our update on the KMP. They basically just uploaded a map. There's a no more boil water order. In fact, there is no update. I guess we just have to go to the InstaWeb. Let's hope it gives us some information that's relevant. Apparently it was crashing, and they had to explain that to the people at the public meeting. That is just not acceptable. It's very easy to make a website that doesn't crash. You just buy more server space. Oh my god. So here's the KMP. Alright, it was updated 3 hours ago. 8% containment. If they've been able to map it, which they may not have. So here's info. Cause of course lightning, 1,802 personnel on it. Size approximately 48,000 acres and a little bit of change. 8% containment. And current weather conditions on the fire. A cold front overnight pushed most of the smoke away from the fire line. Oh yeah, it was finally breathable air down there. Cloud cover was thicker during the afternoon, keeping temperature lower and humidity above 50%. Yes, 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 yes. That is awesome in firefighting terms. Cloud cover shades the ground. There's not as much drying out because of the sun. The ground doesn't get as hot. The whole area doesn't get as hot. And the clouds were low to the hills, and you could just tell on the cams all day that it was really moist and like damp kind of stuff. The kind of thing that would soak your sleeping bag if you left it alone by a tree, and just awesome. So the humidity was above 50%. That means that fire kind of sputters. It really wants to have low humidity. It's a huge major factor in fire activity and spread. So northwest winds remained breezy during the afternoon, mainly at higher elevations though, which is cool. The fire can just sputter all at once on the top of hills and exhaust its fuels. The top of the mountains is where the ember cast is so dangerous. It's at a high elevation. It can travel farther in the wind. So on these days where it's nice and moist, if it wants to blaze up there and deplete its fuels so that later when it's drier it doesn't have as much to throw embers, then that's great. So they had excellent relative humidity recovery and cool temperatures. They will continue for tonight with light winds. That's just the best thing we pretty much could have hoped for outside of like dumping rain or some sort of a snow event. So planned actions on KNP is utilize the indirect tactics from hand crews and heavy equipment to continue line construction along the CAL fire protection areas and outside of the western park boundary to provide for structure protection, to minimize the impacts and values at risk in Three Rivers, Silver City, Heartland, and surrounding communities. Utilize direct tactics where feasible with a high probability of success to limit that fire spread, meaning they'll only go direct if they feel like they won't die, and then that their efforts will do something. In this kind of terrain, it's easy to get trapped. So why risk your crew if there's going to be little reward? That's smart. They'll improve structure protection and mitigation efforts for national park infrastructure. They'll continue to monitor. Well, like maybe wrap the towers a little tighter. Staple gun. That would be good. Continue to monitor high-value infrastructure with the national park to include the park headquarters, museum, and the employee housing. Maybe staple guns there too. Continue protection and mitigation measures for all sequoia groves within the fire area, including the Giants Forest, Sequoia Grove. When attributes of the fire behavior are favorable to the landscape, they'll allow fire spread to aid in fuels reduction in adjacent to the groves. That's okay. Remember, fuel reduction is what saves big trees and mature trees. They're kind of fireproof in most instances if the fire's kind of low to the ground and easygoing. But if there's a ladder fuel next to it, meaning tall bushes and some saplings or like some struggling dead trees, that sort of thing, then that's the thing that endangers the great trees. It's like stacking kindling at the base of them. So when it's nice and mild, they'll just let it go past and they'll supervise the burning of the pine needles, the duff, and that stuff. It is renewing when they allow it to do that. Not bad. Mega fires are bad. Controlled fires are good. So they'll continue strategic firing as fire approaches the primary lines and the fire use modules, hand crews, and the UAS. Strategic firing, once again, is good. It's under control for the most part. Utilize strategic firing when needed to help meet the objections identified for this fire. I'm sorry, I'm so tongue-tied. My throat is just hurting me bad. Projected incident activity on the KNP. Next 12 hours. They had excellent overnight recovery, and it'll minimize the fire behavior. So expect low fire behavior in the next 12 hours. Yes. 24 hours. Fire behavior will increase with the drop in humidity. Moderate fire behavior early in the day. Moderate fire behavior early in the day progresses to active in the afternoon tomorrow. Continued backing to the north and to the south. Now, backing is a slower type of spread. It's either when it goes downhill, like, backing down a slope, or when it's going against the wind, just kind of because vegetation on fire touches each other. As long as the wind's not terribly windy, vegetation that's, touching its neighbor is going to spread. The next 48 hours. Clearing skies will allow solar radiation to increase the fire behavior. Expect to see active to very active fire behavior in the next 48 hours. And that's because the sun does a couple of things. It dries out fuels with direct sunlight, makes everything hotter in the landscape and heats the air, and also it increases wind speed. I didn't know that. But whole Amy taught me that. Amy the kid. The next 72 hours, clear skies and lower humidity will increase the fire behavior. Expect to see active to extreme. Yikes. After the next 72 hours, humidity will continue to drop, decreasing the fuel moistures, allowing for an increase in fire behavior. Extreme fire behavior can be expected. Growth to the east, the south, and the north. So, at least, they have 72 hours to make good all their preparations. The more backfires that they can make, which they're calling strategic. Cool. I like that word. I think it helps the public understand the concept better. Maybe we should switch to using that word. Godspeed. Do everything you can. They have limited resources, less than 2,000 people. They need about 10,000 people. I mean, the Dixie needed 10,000 people on it too, and this is in some ways much harder to fight. At least it's in the later part of the year when it gets colder and more humid, and hopefully the wet season will arrive not a moment too soon. So that's our update for the KMP. Now we can go over to check on the monument, and we didn't have any KMP videos, so that over there would be oh yeah, the Shasta. We forgot the Fawn. Now the funny thing was, I got an update. I got a notification that the Fawn Fire video is here. See, California Fire Incident Management Team 4 is live. Fawn Fire virtual community meeting. Video is unavailable. It has been removed by the uploader. Huh. Okay. So we'll try Facebook. See if it's there. And that would be Cal Fire Shasta. Shasta Trinity. Let's go see if it's there. We got a bulletin. Ah, looks like it's on Facebook. Let's see about it. When does it start?
And 39 providing information.
All right, here we go.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Corbett. I'm a public information officer with CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 4. Today is September 28th, and we thank you for joining us for tonight's press conference and virtual community meeting. We are broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube from the Shasta District Fairgrounds in Anderson, California. Tonight, you will be hearing from subject matter experts providing information on fire suppression, weather, fire behavior, road closures, evacuations, and repopulation. If you have any questions for our speakers tonight, please add them in the comment sections, and we'll do our very best to get to those during the event tonight. I do have some updated numbers for you. The Fawn Fire is currently set at 8,595 acres with a 70% containment. Currently, there are 1,639 personnel assigned to the fire. And the breakdown for that is we have 160 fire engines, 50 hand crews, 13 dozers, 8 helicopters. We do have damaged residential structures listed at 20, and we have 90 structures residential destroyed. I would now like to introduce our first speaker, our Operations Section Chief.
Thank you. My name is Tim Perkins, Operations Section Chief with CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 4. Today our fire was broken into 2 branches, 4 divisions. I'm going to start in Branch 1 down here in Division Yankee along Oregon Trail. We've had crews out here all through the day working around the structures, looking for hot spots, looking for trees that were damaged by the fire, continue to make it safe all through the area. As you move up Oregon Trail into Copper Canyon area, we also had crews working through behind the structures, making sure that that fire perimeter did move, checking the dozer line as it moves to the north up towards the power lines and through the easement up towards Radcliffe. Again, we had crews checking for hot spots, making sure there was nothing that was going to cause a problem. Continuing north up to the top, we're Division Bravo, up near the Calaveras quarry. We had crews working in and out of that area as well. We've got a dozer line that goes down to Alley Cove. Also checking for hot spots in that top side of the fire, working with our Type 1 helicopters. I'm going to move over to Branch 5. Here at the top, Silverthorne, up by the marina. Crews are continuing to mop up that area. There's a lot of hot spots that are continuing to be worked on. The fire perimeter has not grown along the dozer line. They're also looking for hot spots and for any issues as it comes down through Bear Mountain into Division Union and then Division Whiskey. As you move down into Bear Mountain, all those structures along Sunrise, Kitty Hawk, we've had crews out there all day working to make sure that it's safe back there. They're checking for hot spots and making sure there's no issues throughout the entire community. Thank you.
Julie Malangowski, I'm the IMET trainee here. For weather, we are in a pattern where we're having winds out of the north. We've been seeing winds out of the north today, really drying things out throughout the day today since the rain occurred last evening. We are expecting north winds to increase as the sun goes down tonight, and we're expecting winds out of the north sustained 15 to 20 miles an hour with gusts of 25 to 35 miles an hour through the mid-morning or late morning hours tomorrow. We are expecting those north winds to continue tomorrow, and then some elevated north winds as well on Wednesday night. However, we're anticipating that the gusts are going to be about 20 miles per hour Wednesday night. So conditions tomorrow are going to be a lot warmer, still winds out of the north. Relative humidity is very, very dry. So that's a big thing to take away today. This drier weather is moving in. We're expecting relative humidity to be down into the teens again tomorrow, and with those north winds continuing through Wednesday night. After Wednesday night, it looks like the winds are going to become a lot lighter. So we're going to start to see kind of a much calmer wind pattern set up for the end of the week as temperatures rise into the weekend. End of report.
Good evening, my name is Jonathan Pangburn. I'm the Fire Behavior Analyst with CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 4. The warmer weather, the drier air mass, and the continuing winds certainly are drying out the fuels and making them available for burning again. We are in a critical fuel condition. However, the firefighting tactics and operations that have been happening over the last few days of this incident have really gotten a handle on this particular incident. So while firefighters are continuing to mop up and make sure that the areas are safe for repopulation and ensuring that the containment lines are bolstered, we're also going to be looking in the area and making sure that there are no spots outside of the line that could get up and run. So thank you.
Good evening. Michael Johnson with the Shasta County Sheriff's Department. I am the Shasta County Sheriff. So as you know, our role in this incident has been the law enforcement support for the event. And we got great news for you tonight. We are looking, as of 6 o'clock tonight, we will open all areas back to repopulation. This is good news. I know the citizens have been displaced and there's a lot of questions regarding that repopulation. There will be 5 road closures still in place, and the repopulation will be open to residents only. So as you come back into your areas that you are going to reoccupy your homes, your residences, be prepared to show your ID and your credentials at the roadblocks and work with those folks to get you safely in there. He mentioned the top Silverthorne area. Up in there, there's still, CAL FIRE still has crews in there that will be working and doing some road work and clearing brush and stuff still in there, working on hot spots. So if you're a resident going into that area in particular, I ask you to please drive slowly and please pay attention because there will be hazards out there for you. We are the Office of Emergency Services run through the Shasta County Sheriff's Department is going to be working closely with our other county agencies running through public health to set up a resource area for residents to get information, to get supporting documents that may have been burnt up in the fire, and to get all the information they need on how to go about this cleanup. And those areas are not actually designated yet, and we have not established a date and time, but if you will go to our website, go to the California CAL FIRE websites, all those informations will direct you through and get you through where you need to know. For the time being, if you go back to your residence, the one thing I can warn you about is please don't clear all the stuff off of your foundation if it's been burnt. If you have damage or even if it's in rubble, I don't want you to clear that out because we have Cal Recycle that will be coming in who will assist with that. But if you move that rubble prior to them getting in and assisting, you may not get the assistance you want or need. And finally, the last thing I'd like to say is a huge thank you to the Incident 4 team, CAL FIRE Incident 4 team that has managed this incident, worked with Shasta County Sheriff's Office, CHP, and all the allied agencies to really come to a quick resolution and a really smooth resolution as best as we can. I know it's been impactful, so thank you.
Good evening, Brett Avea, CAL FIRE Shasta Trinity Unit Chief, Shasta County Fire Department Chief. As we start a pretty steep glide path out of this fire over the next few days, I'd like to start by thanking Incident Management Team 4 and Chief Pemberton for their professionalism. I asked them to come in and hit this fire hard and get the job done, and then let's break it down and get people home, and that's exactly what's happening. Our number one priority was to get all of you home. And so I have to thank the Shasta County Sheriff's Department for their professionalism and the speed in which they were able to do that in an orderly fashion. It's not easy to do that, and I thank them. I thank the California Highway Patrol and the City of Redding Police Department, Shasta County Public Health, Shasta County Public Works for all the assistance and helping us make it possible to get you back in. All the utility companies, they rose to the occasion as always and got the utilities back in place for us out there when we had a lot of damage to their infrastructure. So we owe them a big thanks for their expedience in getting you back to your homes and allowing us to do that. So thank you very much. Again, our local cooperators here in Shasta County and throughout the state, we couldn't do it without them. All of our fire districts, the City of Redding Fire Department, just really big help for us as we take these on. We can't take these and deal with these incidents by ourselves, and without all the cooperators in the state, we wouldn't be able to do it. Finally, for those of you that are back in, those of you that have lost your homes, our thoughts are with you tonight and your families as you rebuild. Shasta County is resilient, and we are here to help you. And there are going to be a lot of folks out there in the area to help you. We will have fire crews in the areas for the next couple of weeks, patrolling and assisting homeowners, as well as the county will be here to help you rebuild. So our thoughts are with you. Have a good night.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Pemberton. I serve as CAL FIRE IMT 4 Incident Commander. I want to say thank you to the community for your continued support during this difficult time. You adhered to the warnings that we issued, making our job to fight this fire much easier. Without your help, allowing us to be able to aggressively suppress this fire, it could have been much more challenging by having residents remain in evacuated areas. As we've talked before, the initial attack efforts by your local firefighters was phenomenal, and the help from all of our partner agencies that were already mentioned. As you've heard, CAL FIRE Team 4 is transitioning out. That does not mean that firefighters are leaving your community. That means we're downsizing our footprint here at the fairgrounds and on the fire line because of our confidence in the efforts that we have done to suppress and control this fire. Your public safety partners appreciate this community's engagement in fire safety, and you adhered to our Ready, Set, Go acronym. And I believe informed communities are safer communities, and you live up to that every day. Thank you.
Most of the questions that were asked tonight were already asked, but we did have one outstanding question. Chief?
Hi, Tim Perkins, Operations Section Chief, CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 4. The question is, how dangerous is it to go back home when we are in a warning? Great question. Certainly we have the areas in a warning more for an awareness. Certainly our crews are in and out of the structures and throughout the infrastructure there to make sure there's no more hot spots. We anticipate having crews through the community for more days to come until all those hot spots have been mitigated. The other thing is we've got fire damaged trees that are continuing to make sure that aren't going to pose a hazard. So if there was a concern that we did not want residents back into their homes, then we would have kept it into a mandatory. So it isn't a warning, and it's more of an awareness for you coming back to your homes. We will have fire crews out there. The utility companies will still be working hard to put that infrastructure back into place. And so those things are going to occur for the days to come. So hopefully that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We'd like to thank all of you for following us this evening. This concludes the virtual Facebook, YouTube press conference and virtual community. We will continue to provide incident updates at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. This will, however, serve as the last final interaction that we're going to have via Facebook, YouTube live video conference for you. You may continue to follow updates at the CAL FIRE website at www.fire.ca.gov. Please continue to follow all social media. Again, we truly appreciate your support and appreciation. It truly kept our spirit going during this tough fight. At the end of this presentation, we will have for you on the screen QR codes that will link you to live presentations and email updates. Again, we sincerely appreciate your joining us this evening, and thank you.
Okay. Well, they did such a good job with the Fawn fire, and they had such a good lucky break in the weather, and boy did they pounce on it and utilize it. We got to remember that firefighters can't do anything that the weather does not allow them to do. You can't blame them for a fire spreading or moving quickly out of control if it's wind driven on a red flag or a near red flag kind of a day. The fact they put themselves in front of it anyway was just absolutely amazing. They hit it with aircraft. They did just the best job that any fire crew in the world could have done, and it really shows. It's a massive tragedy, no matter what the circumstances are of any fire, that entire neighborhoods were lost, and it's going to hurt a lot of people. We almost had fatalities, but they did such an amazing job that we can all breathe a huge sigh of relief. Everything was okay without loss of life. And even though winds are coming down the pipe, they really got it. I don't want to say the word under control. That is a very specific term, but they really have it. It's in good hands. I'm going to say that. It's not expected to go any further and leave its current footprint. So, wow, I would show pictures and scroll down, but they're going to be devastation pictures. We want to be real sensitive to that. We can just read the statistics that 3 firefighters were injured. That's horrible. Containment percentage is currently at 70%. It burned 8,595 acres. Still threatens 80 structures. It destroyed at least 185. Damaged at least 26. They're still counting. There's 1,693 personnel on it. 160 engines, 22 water tenders, 8 helicopters, 50 hand crews, and 13 dozers. The fire suppression personnel will continue to strengthen containment lines by patrolling the fire area and extinguishing the hot spots. Crews will be actively engaged in mop-up and tactical patrol throughout the night. Winds tonight will be 10 to 15 miles an hour out of the north, with gusts up to 35. Residents within evacuation warnings should be prepared to leave if fire activity increases. And all evacuation orders have been lifted. KDOC let us know that that happened about 6 p.m. I bet they're relieved in some ways, but they're still on watch, because these winds, they do pose the potential for spot fires to get over the lines and spread. It's just, they've got a lot of crews on it. They're watching it. We also saw today that the Bear Mountain camera is back up, so they got that working again. We saw a little red helicopter land, and presumably that was the crew fixing it. So that's our Fawn update. We've done the Caldor, Dixie, Fawn, Windy, KMP. It's time to head over to, what was it, Siskiyou County or whatnot, look at the monument and McCash. And yeah, it was Klamath, sorry. I always get that one confused for some reason. So we have a 3-hour ago an evacuation update. It's been lifted. Evacuation warnings were lifted for many more areas. That's really cool. Like along Highway 96 south of the Yukonom Creek. I don't know if I said that right. In the McCash fire, the east of Somes Bar near Steinecker Creek, Marble Mountain Wilderness area, near Hellhole Ridge. Now that's a name. The South Fork of Woolly Creek, Canyon Creek, Thompson Creek, Grider Ridge, East Fork of Elk Creek area, Titus Creek, Clear Creek, and Dillon Creek. So please use caution, as fire crews still have heavy equipment in the area, and they'll continue to work the area. The public should watch out for snag hazards, meaning standing dead trees that are kind of leaning and looking bad, ash pits, and rockfall. So stumps in around them, and some areas could still be pretty hot. So this is a little clip of James Patet, I guess, one of the Fireline resource advisors on the McCash fire. He specializes in hydrology and is helping guide and implement repair work on the fire lines. In this video, he explains how a water bar is used to redirect water away from a handline. Water bars are a shallow channel or raised barrier, like a ridge of packed earth or a thin pole laid diagonally across the surface of a road or a trail so to lead water away from it, particularly stormwater. Water bars are frequently installed in fire lines on steep slopes to prevent erosion and therefore preventing sedimentation of the local waterways. So let's watch this little video.
Out into the surround. All right, so we're here looking at a hand line that was dug on the McCash fire in California. This hand line was dug in case the fire came to this point. This would be a place to hold the fire, but it was not needed, and it is now a relic of our fire suppression work left on the landscape. We're going to come out here and talk about how to repair this hand line. So the reason that the hand line needs to be repaired is because the way it runs down the slope in straight lines, and it's a bit of a lower than the surrounding contour of the land, water can collect in the hand line and run quickly down the slope, eroding the bare soils that we've created for this hand line. So our main objective in repairing the hand line is to get that water off of the line and out into the surrounding forest where it can infiltrate into the ground and become groundwater and later join a stream as through the natural processes. So what we have here is an example of a small water bar on a hand line. We've created it at an angle to the slope, and we've identified an area where that water, as it comes down the hand line, can hit our water bar and be directed off onto the side of the water bar where it can infiltrate. The height of our water bar is a little higher than the surrounding contour of the land. There will be some settling of this water bar, and we just
pulled material from up above the water bar and created this small berm. The other actions we'll do to repair this hand line is to scatter slash from the surrounding forest floor and scatter it over the hand line. This will help just prevent the hand line from looking like a trail that invites people into areas of the forest that doesn't actually go anywhere. And it helps break up the energy of the raindrops as they fall to the ground, disperses that energy and limits the erosion that way as well.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I just want to address something in chat. You know, we are not making fun of the mentally ill, and if I get accused of that one more time, I'm going to be really upset. I'm not a bully. I'm really supportive of mental health care and healthcare in general. I believe everybody deserves treatment. We are making fun of this crazy story that was concocted by the person accused of arson, formally charged with arson. We do not know that she's mentally ill or not. And I would not allow anybody to make fun of somebody like that. We're not doing that. We are making fun of the story. The story, that is one of the craziest things I have ever heard. Update. Woman accused of starting the Fawn fire was attempting to boil bear urine to drink it. That is all kinds of wow. Now, one way that firefighters and people in bad situations deal with the crazy things they have to, well, deal with is with humor. I'm going to allow people to make fun of that title of this article all they want, because that's one heck of a story. Nobody's making fun of the mentally ill. Stop assuming that she is, because we don't have any proof that she is. It's a big question mark. It's a big maybe. She could just be a cold-hearted snake lying criminal. She could be a victim of mental illness and not in control of her actions with delusions. She could be somebody who had an accident who was framed. But with that kind of a story, I doubt it. She didn't claim to be framed. Or whatever. She didn't even claim she didn't light a fire. So she made up a story about how she wanted to boil bear urine, which does not hold water. Bad pun. Because she was right next to Lake Shasta and places where you could buy bottled water, and she walked right past a bunch of guys at a construction zone in a quarry, and she could have just asked them for water. So none of this really holds a lot of weight here. So we're making fun of this crazy. This is one of the craziest, funniest stories I have ever heard in the judicial sphere. The story is amusing. Not the situation, not that the fire took out neighborhoods and almost killed people, not mental illness. The story is. And so I really don't like chat disruptors who come in and want to make accusations when we're just kind of laugh at that. I decided to drink bear urine, so I had to light the landscape on fire in a red flag drought and a mega drought. I'm going to allow people to make fun of that all they want. Some people deal with situations with dark humor, particularly firefighters. It's a coping mechanism. It doesn't mean anybody's mean or making fun of anybody. And so I'm just going to lay down the law right now. I don't allow bullying, and I'm not allowing bullying. I don't allow character assassination. And I told people who first came in here to say she was a suspect to not say her name. Because vigilantism is a real thing, and it's not good. People get killed. Vigilantes even target the families of people who are accused, and so I disagree with them even releasing her name to the public and her photo. I don't think that should have been done, and that's what the authorities did. I'm not in control of that. It's already all over the place. And so when people first said this is the suspect, I deleted all the comments and said, look, vigilantism is a real thing. Never joke. Never spread rumors about arsonists or potential arson until there's a formal charge. Well, there's formal charge. This is the story she told. And wow, is it a whopper. Wow, is it some kind of a thing. But telling me that I'm some sort of a bully, or that my friends here in chat are, when we're just trying to cope with the situation with humor, is not something I'm really going to tolerate very longer. This has happened more than once. I've now stopped my fire information to address chat once more. So please, just don't do that. If you don't like dark humor, there's a lot of that has to happen here. I've been looking at fires for 77 days now, in a row, without any sort of anything else in my life. Trying to do a public service. I really, really don't want people coming in here trying to mischaracterize me. I've done something good for the public, done my best. And that's what enemies do. That's what enemies do. They come in and they say, hey, you're doing this, or you're doing that, that's evil. Just not going to tolerate it. If this continues, I'm just laying down the law here. This is a public service stream. I'm going to go back to the actual subject, which is the fires here. We're going to look at the river and the McCash, but I can't have people who constantly come in, make accusations, say that people are going in here being mean, bullying, making fun of people, and I have to stop my stream, stop what I'm doing to address it. I'm not going to accept any more disruptions like that. I'm just warning you right now. This is a place where we share information to the public that the public desperately needs. I'm going to allow people to deal with stuff in really mild, dark humor. That's just firefighting culture. That's just first responder culture. If you don't understand that, this might not really be the place for you, because this is a place full of first responders and people trying to deal with horror. Even Sarah Luna, who lost everything, had her own house burned down, came in here for a laugh with that. We're innocently joking about it. But say one more time that I'm making fun of the mentally ill or something, you're going to have a problem with me. I'm sorry. I don't do that. I am really, really big-hearted, and I tolerated a lot of mental illness in the chat before. A lot of people came in here, and I tolerated their disruptions because they have a bad story. They're suffering from PTSD, something's affecting them, and I'll gently remind them, look, these are chat rules. You don't disrupt. Though you can freak out every once in a while. That's okay. We're here for you. But please take a walk. If something's overwhelming you or triggering you, please take a walk. Come back. We're here to support you. But don't accuse the people here of being mean, because we're not. We're all here to help the community. I've already got rid of the mean people. And if you feel like somebody's really being a bully, then you need to email me and not complain about it in chat, okay? Don't start drama in the chat. Just please, I will look at your concern. Just email me, take a screenshot, copy the text of what has bothered you, and explain why it bothered you, and then we'll go from there. But I'm just not going to accept any more accusations that people are doing evil stuff here. We're not. So I hope that works for you. The McCash fire update is just looking good too. We've got a lot of rain up there in the northwest section of the state. Guys, we have dodged a bullet. I wanted to keep this light and happy. Sorry about that. I have to address what's going on. But we really, really lucked out on every single one of the fires. I haven't seen any of them with bad news. I mean, we know structures were lost on the Windy, and then we don't know how many. They still haven't released that. But then the wind changed, and the fire crews arrived, and they saved, I believe, most of the Sugarloaf area down there on the Windy. And California Hot Springs are even talking about repopulation, even at Camp Nelson, because their firing operations, their strategic firing has gone so well. We had red flag events, and even though we had new fires, such as that one that showed up in the Stanislaus National Forest, they pounced on it, they got it out. We had some structure fires, we had fires west of Gridley, they pounced on it, they got it out. We can breathe this huge sigh of relief. So I am just absolutely happy about that. We'll take what we can get. We saw this special about how they use water bars. I'm trying to find if they have an actual update video. For the river complex, yeah, we do. We have one, and it was how many hours ago? Well, that was 14 hours ago, so it's not new. So we don't actually have one. We've got a press release on the river, and that came out. Well, that was 14 hours ago too. We already covered that. But life is slowly starting to turn a little bit more to normal for many of these places, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy. So, is there any fire that I've skipped? I mean, I wanted to know about the antelope, but we just don't see a lot of updates. We can try InstaWeb and come on, load. Oh man, they really truly are having problems, aren't they? They told the people at the KNP meeting, InstaWeb crashes a lot, and I'm just dismayed. Like, wow. Just wow. Okay, antelope fire. 95% containment. That is so awesome. It was updated about 4 hours ago. Now, it may kind of be 100%. I say the word kinda, asterisk, because I was told that they still have access to some money, some special kind of funding. Don't ask me why. You know, we know the bureaucracy is kind of broken. They doing a good job and containing something early should not be a penalty to being funded, but it kind of is right now. So you'll see a lot of fires officially sit around 95 and 98%, like even the Beckworth, which ceased to be a danger months ago, is 98% contained. So they'll just stick a number like that on InstaWeb even after the vast majority of all danger is passed. So like significant events, fire activity is minimal with creeping and smoldering within the fire containment lines. That's just wonderful. Current weather concerns for the antelope are Wednesday night's weather is expected to dip into the mid to upper 20s. The fire area anticipated a warming and drying trend throughout the weekend. I mean, it'll dip into the upper 20s? Is that below freezing? Is that what they mean? They said Wednesday night's weather. Do they mean temperature? I think they meant temperature. So they could even have a frost? Awesome. And sometimes the mountains just don't have a summer or a fall. They just go summer, winter. Mount Hood has snow on it. Mount Hood had snow on it. Hopefully Shasta will eventually start getting some snow on it. Wouldn't that be grand? So, planned outlook for the antelope is firefighters will continue to patrol and mop up any sources of heat that might breach the containment lines. Crews will continue to identify suppression and repair activity that needs to occur. Projected incident activity. Minimal fire behavior is expected given the amount of rain received over the fire in the last 36 hours. I love that word, minimal. Minimal. This is great. This is great. So, excellent. What's this picture? It's a chipper. It's a chipper. So, looking back at the chat, we also had a joke. Let's go back to joking about the bear and the beavers. So, I think Smitty was making a joke about a beaver probably dealt the illegal substances to the bear, which will probably be blamed for her perhaps a failed drug test, right? It was the bear who did it. I just happened to drink his urine. And I said, Smitty, don't joke about the beaver mafia, though. You can't make this up. Here's the other funny headline. Tree chomping beaver starts brush fire near Multnomah Falls, Oregon. You can't make this up. This is for real. In fact, what I want to do is go back to the Broadcastify archive. This occurred on the night of September 16th, I believe. So that means that Broadcastify, probably a Troutdale Fire channel or something like that, maybe Gresham. Maybe they even said on the radio, cause of fire was a beaver. I just want to get that soundbite. I'm going to look for it really hard. We're going to have to listen to that. We're going to have to crack one open and get some popcorn and listen to that. That would just be perfect. In Corbett, Oregon, a beaver trying to fall a tree started a... What do you mean trying? It obviously did fall. It fell on the power lines. Trying to fall a tree started a brush fire near Multnomah Falls on Thursday night, according to Corbett Fire. Wind blowing from the east knocked over the tree that the beaver was working on, Corbett Fire said. The tree fell on a power line, which then sparked the fire. The fire brought out 20 firefighters, 2 engines, 2 brush rigs, and 2 water tenders from Corbett Fire District. Cascade Locks also sent a brush rig. It was a mutual aid effort, a grand slam on the beaver fire here. Did they name it? Please tell me they named it the Beaver Fire. The fire was under control after about 2 hours. It started south of I-84 near the Multnomah Falls exit. The right eastbound lane of I-84 was closed while emergency personnel battled the Beaver Fire.
Rapid bus line is coming to Clark County. This one will be...
Hey, that's an autoplay, sorry. Oh, you just can't make this up. But Smitty, stop talking about the Beaver Mafia. In fact, I'm going to delete this video so that they don't come after me. It's just obvious what happened here is the beavers, they have a protection racket and somebody didn't pay. But you know what? I bet everybody from Bend to Astoria is now paying up. Because they mean business. These beavers, they mean serious business. Dark business. So we're not going to talk about them anymore. It's too dangerous. All of us could be in danger, We probably should lay low, go into hiding, maybe stay somewhere else for a while, and delete. In fact, I think I'll just delete my whole channel that I mentioned them, and maybe maybe I should actually just bring an offering to the Beaver Dawn and be like, I'm sorry, mate, here's extra protection money for the year. But I'm serious. There is a sort of, an animal kingdom, and within it there are innocent animals, and there's a criminal underground. All right, let's look back at the chat. Beavers have been reintroduced into Scotland, says Shaz73, and they're having a ball on the land my brother works on. Really? Desiree says, what, was the beaver chewing too rapidly or something? They actually work pretty quick. They work pretty quick, They build an entire dam in a night. People think that takes them a month or something. No, they build it in a night. There was this funny video. There's a cool guy. I was just following him on YouTube, actually. He cleans drains. Like, he uses a rake to clear flooded roads. He's a community volunteer. Gosh, what was his channel? And he was in a battle with the beavers damming up a culvert. And he removes their dam, and the next morning it was back. That's how they operate. Like, they build one in an instant. It's a good channel too. I should probably share it. It was the oh gosh, it's probably my YouTube history, but I don't want to show that because it'll probably show you some stuff that's embarrassing, such as the amount of atomic bomb videos I like to watch. That is mesmerizing. Let me look at my history. That guy's pretty cool. What is his channel? Let me go back up there. It was actually soothing to go to sleep to his voice. I mean, this dude's a hero. I'm not being facetious. He is a hero. He's a community activist. Here it is, post 10.
That cheap not to afford a $10 rake. Okay, the only rake I found like this was at Walmart, made in China, meaning it would break probably after a few uses. Don't buy tools made in China.
Oh, okay. That's him, not me. He is the man. His post 10. He has 445,000 subscribers because he's passionate about clearing up drains and saving roads, like helping the community. And this is his battle with beavers, which was a funny episode. So I'm gonna link it here. But it just goes to show how really quick they can actually build a dam. Maybe I can show a clip of it. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty elaborate, and it took them a long time to clear it. Probably took them longer to clear it than it took them to build it. And next day, it was back. You know, he completely cleared it out, and goes back, it's back. So yeah, see, there it is again. In this case, it was just a bunch of mud and bushes. This was a less elaborate kind. You know, they don't need trees, and when they raid a farmer's crops, they'll even take all of the corn and build a corn dam. And in Portland, it was pretty funny on the outskirts. I think it was actually maybe technically Gresham, kind of by the Columbia River Slough. There was a theft of a bunch of Christmas lights and Christmas trees from people's yards and displays. And so they put up some cams. It was a beaver, ripped the tree out of the yard and built the dam with it. And the dam was still lit by the Christmas lights when they went down there. It was just absolutely hilarious. It even happened on the outskirts of 23rd Avenue one time. They thought it was vandals, and no, it was beaver mafia. I tell you, if you don't pay the protection money, they will destroy your roads. They will destroy your trees. They will destroy your Christmas lights. They will ruin Christmas. They will dam the culverts, and they will burn down the Columbia River Gorge if protection money is not paid. So now that we've spoken about them, I'm going to leave, and I'm going to delete this video. I'm just saying, guys, you got to pay that protection money. Or else, disaster. Disaster. Alright, going back. Oregon is the beaver state. I knew that. Did you know that Oregon is the only state that has two sides of its flag? There are two sides of the Oregon flag. Did you know a beaver is on the other side? It's true. It's true. Most people think of the state seal side, right? But look, it's true. The beaver are powerful. They're so powerful they end up on flags. I mean, people talk about Illuminati symbols and such being on the dollar, but look how often the beaver appears in the Pacific Northwest on official documents and such. Their reach is long and deep. They know who you are. They can find anything else about you, and they can make you disappear. A week from now, nobody will have ever heard of me, probably, unless I go and pay my protection money this month. I'm late. Oh my God, I'm late on it. Guys, sorry. I gotta go. I gotta go make a deposit. Excuse me. But no, they're everywhere. And they're watching. They're watching. And now they're coming for Scotland, if Shaz is to be believed. Look out. I mean, they're gonna go back and they're gonna expand their reach into Europe. So let's look at some cams. I think we're going to see some pretty mild activity. I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. I'm hoping. Now we can't have an all-night stream for the next 5 or 7 days. The internet service provider is doing night maintenance on the construction site thing that's going on that I happen to live in the middle of. So the stream would be interrupted no matter what I did. I have no way of making it automatically come back on, and I have no intention of staying up all night. Not anymore. Not anymore. I will have a good sleep schedule. I will do it. I will do it. It'll probably only last 3 days, but I will do it for a while. Man, we can't even see the fire in Shirley Peak. Well, it's not actually looking at the correct direction. Tobias Peak is not looking in the correct direction either. I guess fire's technically all around it. So here's Tobias Peak 1, looking very much like it has been for the last two nights. Husky Eagle says, I'm horrified of the Beaver Mafia. You gotta respect them. That is the New World Order, and it's rodents in charge. They're one of the largest. I hear that they may get in trouble with the South American gangs. The capybara are not a joke. The nutria are like a rival. Muskrats, though, are on the decline. They don't stand a chance, you know. It's kind of like the Italian mob that represents muskrats. They're kind of on the decline. It's the era of, you know, the homegrown and the South American gangs. Capybara, nutria, beaver. It's an invisible war, but the casualties are all around us. It's Mother Nature. It's Mother Nature. The rodent criminal gangs have completely taken over New Orleans. I hear they're in Bama too. They met their match in Florida because there's pythons. That's a different kind of mafia right there. But New Orleans, man, they're unstoppable. Unstoppable. The rodents of unusual size are taking over. Inexorably, they'll keep expanding. It's kind of a sleeper cell in the form of possums. But really, they're dumb as a box of rocks and just can't compete with the cunning of a rodent. They'll never take over New York. I mean, the sewer rats are too plentiful. I mean, they got that nailed down. But the Pacific Northwest and Montana and Canada, that's fair game, you know. I mean, they rule the roost in Canada. The nutria can't hack it. They get frostbite. Beavers are adapted. They're well adapted to the toughness of even the permafrost zones. So it'll remain to be seen. The nutria are weaker, but they're more numerous. Well, we'll see who comes out on top. We'll see. The woodchucks? I don't know about the woodchucks. I don't know if they can compete with the beavers. And I don't know if the woodchucks could chuck wood. But maybe. Maybe. It keeps me up sometimes. It's one of those things where you Google and there's no answer. It's just more people repeating the question, and I don't know. Can they? I don't know. What if I never know, you know? What if nobody ever tells me? Like, what does nobody know? We have all this technology. We can send man to the moon, and we can't figure out if the woodchucks can chuck wood, you know? It's okay. It's okay. I mean, I'm a youngster. I'll live a long time. Maybe they'll find out within my lifetime. You know, it's a possibility. Cameras are everywhere these days. You know, maybe they'll catch them on film. You know, like kind of like the Tasmanian tiger. Maybe we'll just catch one on a trail cam one day, and it'll be true that they're alive. You know, and that's all we can hope for. It's all we can hope for. Now let's look at Leak Springs. Hey, now there is a fire finally visible on a camera. Let's do a 12-hour. Tahoe dodged major bullets too. We had really good results on that. They basically said we were worried. I mean, we were concerned. That slip was very funny, but I think it's cool if they express their actual true level of worry to the public instead of like trying to hide it nervously. I think that's okay. I think the public should know when fire danger is real, and if fire crews are worried, then, well, we should be concerned as well. And it all turned out way better because, wow, did you see that? That was magical. Did you see the clouds roll up and disappear? That was amazing. That's one of the cooler things we've ever seen on these camps. Cold Cookies is Oregon. Westwards is sending cold, wet winds to the east. Good, because places like Paisley, poor Paisley, which has become close to obliteration so many times, still has that kind of a nervous look over at the Cougar Peak fire, which seemed to have died down long ago, but it's not completely out. What? Was that the moon? That's not the fire, that's the moon. That's the moon, isn't it? Whoops. I thought that was a fire somewhere, but then I realized, yeah, that's too high to be there. That's the moon. Remember the joke, I want to believe in the moon? If you weren't here for it, Amber came up with that. It was hysterical. Somebody came in and said, "Look at the trail cams, or look at the alert cams, look at the alert cams." And we said, "What?" And they said, "It's true. There's a UFO. Sometimes aliens may be responsible for these fires." And we went, "What?" He said, "No, right now on the alert cam, there's a UFO. Play it back, play it back." And so we did. And I looked at my phone because I have this thing called like Star Tracker or something. I said, "You mean that glowing thing in the sky?" "Yeah, that's the moon." And they're like, "No, no, no, it's UFO." And I said, "No, really." And I showed the horizon and like what is where the moon's position is supposed to be. And so the joke is that every once in a while the moon looks like a fire or something. And then we go, "Oh, I went to..." I want to believe in the moon. That needs to be a t-shirt. So bad. It really, really needs to be a t-shirt. Big Dog says it's currently 31 degrees at Timberline. Oh, I hope it doesn't melt. They've had like 7 inches. They're supposed to get 7 inches of snow. That's going to be great. That'll be super. I think I'll just get in the car and head there. Maybe Rainier has some snow near me. That would be cool. I just need something cool after all this. I'm kind of done with the summer. That's okay. That's gone. That's cool. That's fine. That's all right. Let's just try to forget 2021 like we try to forget 2020. I think that's a good policy. Let's just like not name it. Let's just blot it out of history. When our grandkids ask us about it, we're like, those were dark times. We don't need to talk about it. Why is the area all burned up? Why is the landscape burned up? We don't need to talk about it. Just, it was bad. Let's look to the future. So, we've actually reached the delightful situation that I am ecstatic about. All the cams are too boring to even really kind of show them. There's really nothing going on in any of the cams except for Tobias Peak, which is just kind of a smoldering thing. When we can't find fires on cams, it's because of their lowered activity. That's just great. That's just awesome. Those are city lights of Yuba City, and cool. It's not a fire. I'm gonna jinx myself now. Usually right before I try to go to sleep, there's something crazy will happen. But well, let's see. Maybe there's a Mount Hood webcam. Mount Hood webcam. I'm ready for snow on Tahoe, though, guys. Are you? Are you? Timberline Lodge has got to have a... Hey. There's got to be a webcam on Timberline Lodge. Yeah. Show us some snow. Show us some snow. There's snow. There's snow. If this is familiar to you, it's slushy and kind of melty, but there's snow. If this looks familiar, around, wasn't it here? That is the scene in The Shining where, you know who, Jack Nicholson is found in the snow? Dude, that's the outside, the exterior shots of the Shining, where Timberline Lodge. The interior was filmed somewhere in Europe or something, in some other place, because it was too rustic and nice looking, like too kind of pioneer-ish. Didn't go with the theme of the like abandoned big hotel, But that is where they filmed that. Casey has a link. Oh, did I miss something? Did I miss something? Whoopsie. Leave it to Beaver. Yes, that's the best joke, guys. That is the best joke. I don't see no link. Okay. But look, there's snow. There's snow. Over here, there's snow. Yay. Oregon had a bunch of fires in the Cascades. Mostly, they weren't too bad. It was just kind of a repeat nightmare of last year in some areas by Detroit Lake. It was getting close to Bagby Hot Springs. I was really nervous about that. Bagby Hot Springs barely survived last year's Beachy Creek, which was all kinds of evil. That was one monster fire, and it took out Brighton Bush, Detroit Lake, Imnaha, the Gates, Mill City, impacted Lyons, destroyed Jawbone Flats and Elkton, and just rampaged. Kind of even damaged the outskirts of Sublimity and Staten. I mean, that's almost a record for towns destroying, fires destroying towns. It's almost on par with the Tillamook burn, actually. But then to have a fire break out this year, it's a spooky image. Oh, Error 404, Beaver Mafia. They didn't pay the camera protection money. So glad it didn't reach Brighton, Bagby. That's a special spot. So, ouch. Guys, it's almost midnight. Time for me to go to sleep now. From 2 to 5 in the morning, basically, my ISP is going to go and take us offline anyway. They're going to be doing maintenance, and I can't stay up all night to put it back up. So it's going to happen next 5 days or so, just depending. They kind of have this big time period. I couldn't pin them down for when is it really going to be over? So we can't do an overnight stream, but we'll be back tomorrow, I guess. I'll check in. I want snow. I'm ready for winter. Very happy to report that pretty much universally in California, all the fires are looking way, way better. Way, way better. Oh, and there's the plot thickening. California's top power regulator, to resign as the PG&E crisis rages, courtesy of ABC 10. Governor Newsom's appointee helped orchestrate the bailout of PG&E and the screwing of the survivors of the Camp Fire and other bad fires. As head of California Public Utilities Commission, she plans to leave her post at the end of 2021 to resign. She was an appointee of the governor, and she announced what she called a difficult decision in an internal email obtained by ABC 10. Multiple current and former CPUC employees have expressed reservations about her leadership at the commission, pointing out that she was just a former casino executive who came into the job with no significant experience in utility or energy sectors, yet somehow she became the president of the California Public Utilities Commission. She was, what the heck does running a casino have to do with running the state's Public Utilities Commission? That Public Utilities Commission, according to ABC 10's years-long firepower money investigation, revealed she played a role in the Newsom administration's complex plan to help PG&E avoid the financial consequences of past and future wildfires in hopes of returning the company to solvency. Meaning, help orchestrate the whole deal where the corporation, instead of going bankrupt and having to pay the victims what they deserved, the governor signed a bill that stated that that limited their liability. They didn't have to pay the victims as much. Instead, they got worthless things like stock options. Because this company eventually is going to nosedive. It keeps causing billion-dollar disasters. Eventually, that's going to give. And many of them are still homeless to this day, even though PG&E has started, like 27 major devastating town-destroying wildfires in the last couple of years. Something like that. I lost count. I lost count of the amount of towns that they erased and people they killed. It's somewhere around 100. So, that they pled guilty of manslaughter. Not making that up. I mean, they pled guilty. The executive director who worked under Batcher, or however you say her name, during the bailout of PG&E revealed the agency failed to operate independently, as required by California's Constitution. We will do whatever the governor tells us to do, period, fired CPUC Executive Director Alice Stebbins said. She was fired. Especially anything with PG&E, anything with the bankruptcy. The CPUC's own internal communications revealed the agency was submitting work to Newsom's office for approval, lending credence to Stebbins' claims that the governor's office was micromanaging the California Public Utilities Commission under that lady, Batcher. That's illegal, basically. It's supposed to be independent. I wonder how deep this will go. Under state transparency laws, ABC 10 requested messages between her and 4 key staffers of the PG&E policy in Newsom's office. The agency rejected that request, and ABC 10 sued. Good for you guys. The CPUC is currently arguing to the state Supreme Court that it could take an indefinite amount of time to respond. Oh, what a luxury. With the stink of corruption in the air, they can take an indefinite amount of time to respond. Oh, wow. I wish you and I had that kind of thing. Imagine if you or I were above the law like that, and we could, like, drunk drive or something, and somebody wants to give you a breathalyzer test. I think I'll take an indefinite amount of time to respond, officer. I think I'll just wait, 72 hours before taking that test. It would incriminate me. Among the most serious findings of ABC 10's investigation was the discovery that CPUC harmed the criminal investigation into PG&E after the Camp Fire. After the one where the Camp Fire that killed 85 people. Now we know of. Some remains were probably never found. So, the California Public Utilities Commission harmed the criminal investigation of PG&E after the Camp Fire. That was according to ABC 10's investigation. PG&E eventually pled guilty to 84 felony counts of involuntary manslaughter and additional felony for sparking the fire. ABC 10 also found the California Public Utility Commission misled the public about the agency's own response to PG&E's violations of safety regulations under her leadership. Because this doesn't really happen in a vacuum. I mean, with PG&E breaking so many laws about not trimming vegetation that they lawfully were supposed to, maintenance that they were supposed to perform, somehow having original equipment that's 94 years old in power lines just kind of break down because they never really inspected it well enough to or replaced it as I believe the law requires them to. Somebody knew. They're supposed to be inspected by the state. I've always wondered how they got away with it, but I guess we're starting to find out. This is telling, and I'm very much interested in where this will go. So, ABC 10 found the California Public Utilities Commission misled the public about the agency's own response to PG&E's violations of safety regulations under Batner's leadership. The lady who now plans to resign. Batner never agreed to be interviewed and did not comment on any of ABC 10's findings. In a related article, Newsom was silent as the California Public Utilities Commission spins misdirection on the Camp Fire. That's a different article. Shasta County prosecutors recently filed 31 new criminal charges against PG&E, including 4 felony counts of manslaughter for the deaths in the 2020 Zog Fire. And just an aside, that included a mother and her 8-year-old daughter, a neighbor, and somebody else who was found crawling on the road with third-degree burns who later died in the hospital. CAL FIRE investigators found PG&E was reckless and should have removed a gray pine with obvious safety problems before it fell on PG&E's power line. And I saw the press conference where the Shasta County District Attorney filed manslaughter charges. That tree was basically hollow, like half of it was missing. Like you could just see half of it was missing and most of the heartwood was missing. And it was leaning towards the power lines. And so they marked it as a hazard tree for 2 years, knew that the hazard existed on the line, and during red flag conditions, live on my stream, in fact, we heard about the Zog fire breaking out. There's already red flag conditions. We were worried about the glass fire and the Bay Area when that happened over by Redding. And they had made a promise to the governor, people of California, the judge overseeing their probation, and the Public Utilities Commission that they would de-energize lines that they knew were rickety and had issues and had vegetation leaning over. But did they learn their lesson? Nope. Dixie fire, vegetation, that was trees that leaned over on their lines again that were allegedly really rotten. Same thing with fly fire. Tree leans over on the lines. This happens year after year, time and time again, multiple times per year. And people die almost every single time. I saw the photos of that tree. It's just really messed up. It's something a 5-year-old could have figured out was a hazard. PG&E admits that its power line sparked the fire, the Zog fire, but says it intends to fight the criminal charges. The company is also fighting numerous felony and misdemeanor charges. In Sonoma County for the 2019 Kincaid fire, which PG&E also admits was sparked by a power line. I really wish, was it Sutter County? Was it EVAC County? I was hoping they would file charges. Maybe they did in the Cascade fire that happened the same night that Santa Rosa burned down in 2017. In the wake of PG&E's crimes in the Camp Fire, Baton Rouge CPUC twice awarded PG&E with an official state safety certificate and approved rate increases for the utility, which now has a total of 91 felonies racked up. A safety certificate. I don't know of any other power company in the world that has killed as many people. We might have to dig, try to find out. This doesn't happen in other states. It doesn't even happen in other parts of California where power companies have a much better safety record. Just mind-blowing. In the email announcing her departure, Baton says she was so proud of the work we have done together and praised the CPUC for ensuring that Californians have access to safe, clean, and affordable utility services. Now, what everybody's furious about is that in order to pay the victims and the paltry sum that they were now going to get after the governor signed that bill that screwed them over, PG&E was allowed to raise the rates on the victims and all the entire state of all of their customers, which is much of the state of California, to pay for it. That's caused California's energy bills to be insane. It's caused senior citizens to turn off the air conditioning and presumably die sometimes in heat waves. It's caused businesses to leave because the cost of doing business is just so high in California now. And it's one of the reasons why people just can't afford fire insurance anymore in California, because PG&E lines are everywhere. They are the hazard on the landscape. Even if you remove all the trees around your house, you can't remove a power line now, can you? They keep falling over and burning down entire neighborhoods and entire towns and entire, counties. So I'm very interested to see where that goes. Indefinite amount of time to respond. Oh, man. Oh, man. But I gotta give props to ABC 10. They have a lot more cojones than most news organizations. They rock. Business Insider too, Wall Street Journal, I think it was New York Times as well. They're the ones talking about this, but not too many, because this is some of the most powerful and rich people in the country. They don't have enough money, right, to make their lines safe. They have a let them fail for cost-effective purposes policy. At least they did, according to some emails revealed in investigations. And yet they still pay their shareholders, still pay their CEO salaries, the ones that can't be handcuffed for manslaughter, because there's no law in California that allows you to arrest a CEO when they kill almost 100 people. But we can change that. And I do want everyone to know about this so they can press for change. I'm not here to complain. I'm not here to be bitter. I'm here to tell people this is what's happening. You will not see an end to California fires as long as this company is like this. Psychopathic is what I mean. For a criminal to stop behaving like this, which PG&E now has a long, long history of criminal corruption and behavior. Poisoning well waters, giving people rare cancers and covering it up, Flint, Michigan style, blowing up neighborhoods in San Bruno, and because maintenance issues, and they keep burning down towns, neighborhoods, and counties. To be rehabilitated, they have to show remorse and fighting the criminal charges and whining about it. When they killed an 8-year-old girl and her mom, how dare you? Is all I gotta say. It just shows you nothing's gonna change until this situation changes. It's not political. It's rooting out corruption, and it's seeking justice for fire victims. That's it. I don't care what political affiliations, left, right, center, or whatever anybody is. That's straight up corruption. And public has to know about it for it to change. If we do everything we can, fuels reductions, weed, fire promoting weed removal, carbon emissions reductions, we do fire break construction, all that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if power lines in most of the state are rickety and fall over every single red flag condition, or almost all of them. It won't matter. So I'm very, very interested to see where this goes. The journalism just might save the day. This is heroic journalism. They're taking huge risks. Many of the reason why other agencies won't cover this, other stations, they're afraid of getting sued. They're afraid of the big power, the big money. They have billions to throw at them and try to sue them for slander, catch them on this and that, libel. They've got a lot of money to attack every single person that works there and make their life a living hell, and tie up their entire organization with just so many frivolous lawsuits that they would possibly even go bankrupt. But heroic journalism still does exist. It's not completely dead. The old kind of investigative stuff. So we got to give them props. Here's the link. Follow ABC 10. Check them out on YouTube. Watch Firepower Money and see how deep the rabbit hole goes. This is tip of the iceberg stuff. This has been going on a long time. There's got to be a lot of corruption, and we got to weed it out, or we're not going to have any change. It's just that simple. The people in the top here are in charge of California's firefighting budget, and the people in the Public Utilities Commission are in charge of the safety certificates. So who is at the head of both of these things matters. So do exercise your right to vote. Do get involved and follow what's going on, or we won't actually see any change. We'll see more Dixie fires. We'll lose more forests. We'll lose more towns, more lives. I'm happy to see this. That's a good sign that the House of Cards, somebody yanked a good one, and the rats are jumping off a sinking ship. Even if nobody takes any action, this is unsustainable fiscally. They can't keep starting billion-dollar disasters. It eventually will come to a head. I just hope that they don't start any new ones before action's finally taken against them. I hope to see the day when the people responsible for all these deaths, killing families and senior citizens and kids, that they get some gold-plated handcuffs slapped on their wrist. Hopefully we'll see that day. With that, guys, do you have any other things you want me to look at? Do you have any questions? Do we have any anything to cover? I'm cautiously optimistic. After 72 hours, it's going to be tough, but they've got 72 hours of good time to help strengthen everything, protect the sequoias, do structure protection, Silver City, the area by California Hot Springs. They got time, and time is all they really need. Firefighters are doing good work. They're pulling miracles out of their hats every day, doing more than we thought they were capable of. I have nothing but the utmost respect for what they've been able to achieve. Man, look at those nice, almost fluffy rain clouds. Not moisture clouds, not really rain clouds, but they brought moisture to the KNP. There's Buck Rock, and we can see a little bit, but we're just going to see pretty mild activity. I mean, it's going up on there on those peaks. It's got ventilation. But considering, somewhat mild. Mulholland was a rat. Yeah, see Chinatown. That's a movie that gets extremely boring. At one point, you're like, why am I watching this? And then at the end, you go, oh, wow. See, PG&E owns dams. And if you know anything about California's water history and that kind of corruption, oh boy, that's Chinatown's a movie about the corruption in Southern California. Never mind the dam that collapsed and killed people, but there's some sayings like who controls the water of California basically controls California and kind of get away with anything. But I hope that changes. It'll change if we wake up and want it to. That's all that really has to happen. So, yep, here's Tobias Peak, still kind of smoldering around the area. So happy that Tobias Peak is still standing. And look back at the chat. Looking back. Smitty says Cascade Fire in Oregon. No. The Cascade Fire of 2017 that killed my friend. That PG&E's equipment started. The power lines went down. That's, what is that? That's Yuba County. I wasn't talking about Oregon. If Oregon has a new Cascade Fire, that might be something different. We can, I knew about the one that was over by Bagley Hot Springs. I hate it when they name fires the same thing. Is that an InstaWeb thing of this year? There's been several Cascade Fires in the last 3 years. I keep forgetting all of their names. List of active wildfires. Cougar Peak, Monument. Cougar Peak is Oregon. The Monument is California. Is it burning over the border? No, it's not. So, click on it. Yeah, the Middle Fork, the Devil's Canyon, Elephant Rock, Gales. Devil's Knob, the Cougar Peak. Did I miss it? Did I miss one called the Cascade? The Bull was the one east of Salem, threatening some areas. The Middle Fork Complex. They basically got rained out. Yeah, PG&E stock is $9.74, down 2.31% today. Maybe on those news. Yeah, Desiree says ABC 10's done a great job. Yeah, they have. I gotta watch the rest of Firepower Money here. Chris says money talks and BS walks. There you go. There you go. And Big Al says I'm gonna have to come up with a bear urine shooter at work this week. That would be hysterical. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I don't drink, but I find that funny. I bet that would be a hit. Holy mackerel! You're gonna be whatever. If you come up with that drink, I'll let the world know that you did. Hurry up before somebody else gets the idea. Big Al is a bartender, so. A felon is a felon to us. Yeah. Yeah. Am I right? I don't remember a Cascade Fire being an organ this year. Was one called that and did it merge? Because I remember the Jack, or the Buckhead, they all just kind of merged together because Oregon had sent a bunch of resources to California to help when they started erupting in Oregon, which was all kinds of irony. I'm looking back at chat. I'm not aware of one. Did I miss it? Local coast, Fork Willamette River. West winds are slow. We were just discussing the dam collapsing. Oh, you were, yeah. That's one of those forgotten things. A couple YouTube people have addressed it on YouTube, but there's a bunch of little-known disasters that I kept writing scripts for because what I wanted to do is talk about history, and I wanted a disaster show to be part of the channel, so that we could study disasters to prevent them from ever happening again. That's why I keep talking about PG&E. That is what part of my life mission is. Explain disasters, why they happen, so they don't happen again. I don't know about you guys, but I'm really, really mad. Could have been me that died in the Cascade Fire. Or the one near it. We moved away. That's why we weren't in it. And I hear about our former neighbors dying and family friends, and then the very next year, PG&E nearly kills my brother and does kill some of the people he knew, many that he knew, in Paradise. And the same thing, their power lines. And Santa Rosa burns down, same thing, their power lines. Kincaid Fire, their power lines. Zog Fire, their power lines. Dixie Fire, their power lines. Fly Fire, their power lines. And you can keep going and keep going. And they just don't learn to listen. In fact, they resent the criminal charges instead of being so sorry for it. You know what, in Japan, where there's still honor, this is the kind of thing where the CEOs of a company volunteer to the victims. They bow low, very low, and they say, I'll commit suicide if you want me to. I'm so sorry. It's an honor thing, and they actually feel shame for their behavior, for screwing people over. The lack of shame here is just absolutely horrifying. It's about as rotten as culture can get. But yeah, the Ford Pinto thing, yeah. It's also Firestone tires. You remember that? There has to be a national law so that the CEOs can go to prison. Just do hard time. The Firestone tires, families flipping over in their SUVs and dying, and Firestone knows it's their tires, and they just hush it up. The Ford Pinto thing. Let's count the cost of non-disclosure agreements with the victims' families and large payouts versus the cost of a recall. It's just sick. So, but my idea was actually for disasters, things like earthquakes, how buildings could be made safer. Mostly don't build on bad land and sink your pillars to bedrock, really common sense stuff. Other things, other major fires like the MGM Grand, I'm studying the deadliest ones, Iroquois Theater Fire and the Coconut Grove. But many of these were almost not in the public consciousness, but now there's kind of a disturbing trend for entertainment to show disasters instead of telling a story of, how we could avoid disaster in the future. Some of these are kind of sad the way people go about it. But mine would be different. It's, here's what went wrong, why. Let's not let the victim's death be in vain. Let's learn, this is why safety regulations are important. Here's what needs to continuously happen. Understand why they're important. Don't repeal them. And don't take for granted fire safety. I mean, I've been in third world countries and places where there's no fire regulations and rules. I think I told you guys the point about the story about me being locked in an apartment with a gas leak, because in places in Europe and such, you can't leave the house without a key. And my host had left with the key that day. Like, holy mackerel. Yeah, that's one of the things. I don't have a big expertise in any sort of that situation, but we could look back in history and see how it's not new. Opium wars of China and such. But that's the idea. If you have to remember disasters, you have to know exactly what went wrong to prevent them from happening, or they repeat. Once a friend asked me, "Why are you stuck in the past?" And I said, "Excuse me?" He goes, "Why do you think about things like the Coconut Grove fire that happened in the 40s?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what keeps us safe today." And if we repeal fire codes for things like that, it'll happen again. And in the countries that don't have these fire codes, I guarantee you they will happen in the future. I actually say the past because I know what the future is. It's really simple, logical reasoning. And if something is possible, you roll the dice enough times and give it enough time, it does happen. That's the whole reason for fire codes. You eliminate the possibility for something like that to happen. Such as, don't jam several thousand people in a nightclub built for a capacity of, a couple hundred. Because when they all panic and run for the door, they get stuck in a logjam of people. That's why we have those capacity rules. Is so many people died. It was a huge body count. It was like 600. So that's the idea. You have to remember disasters for one important reason: never again. Never again. So let's look back down at the chat. Looking back up, did anybody have a specific? I couldn't find a Oregon fire called a Cascade Fire. So I think we're good here. Yeah, there's a talk about the Mulholland and the dam thing. Yeah, Cold Cookie, I'm sorry, I don't think there was a Cascade Fire this year in Oregon called that. If not, they renamed it or called it a complex, and I just don't know about it. But most of those are pretty much a done deal with the rain. I'm so happy to report a very moderate activity that we see on the cams at the KMP and the Windy. Look at all that moist air. So cool. Just awesome. So with that, guys, it's time for bed. Now I'll leave you. And we'll check on things tomorrow. Alan T says if we forget the past, we're doomed to repeat it. Exactly. Exactly. Let's not forget what happened with these fires. Let's not let everybody who died here die in vain. People say, why do you go on about PG&E so much? And I say, because they're still out there. They're still out there ready to kill people again with negligence. Negligent homicide is the real charge. Manslaughter is the only one that they can get to stick. But you and I doing this with our business, it would be negligent homicide. And it'll happen again, and I don't want it to. That is the precise reason. Bury your head in the sand, whatever. Be an ostrich. But it just means you won't see it coming. Desiree says they're like narcissists, like Nero watching Rome burn. Exactly. The bad ghost ship fire, you can tell who's a narcissist. They show up to a fire and they whine about how it affects them. They whine about how it affects them. And there's people that are dead and trapped inside. And they go, oh, my stuff's on fire. You know, you remember the ghost ship, the Oakland fire? That was one of the most scenes of mass fatality in recent years. The guy who was overseeing the place, you know, the psychopath / narcissist or whatever the heck his diagnosis would be if he was properly evaluated. He goes, "My stuff's on fire! Oh no!" And there were 35 people unaccounted for inside the building as it was still raging on fire. He was the guy who let people live in a warehouse like a slumlord, charging them high rent. And there was no electricity in the building and no heat. And so it probably started when they overloaded an electrical cord, stealing power from the auto shop next door. He shows up and goes, "My stuff!" Well, people are dead, and you're whining about how it affects you. And it's the same thing with the charges against PG&E at the Zog fire. The CEO whines, "We're working so hard to do things. Oh, we're improving safety. Oh, you can't do this to us." Wow. Yeah, lack of empathy. I'd like to hook these people up to a brain scan and see what the heck is wrong. It actually works. You can somewhat diagnose people that way. You can put narcissists and psychopaths in front of horrific images of people, human suffering, and they get bored with it and say, "This isn't me. Why should I care?" I'm like, "God, are you gonna show me more pictures of people starving and stuff? This is gross. Oh, God." So remember the Oakland fire. Exactly. That's what happens. I mean, people in the inner cities, oftentimes they'll vote for somebody like Newsom or something because he's benefiting them, or they think so. Well, you know what? People in the inner cities, everybody's at risk from this. People on the reservation are at risk. Look at Tule Reservation. People in Oakland are at risk of this. People of color. You know, how many of them were affected during the Oakland fires? The ones happening in LA. How many people were affected, had to evacuate Pasadena of all races, colors, cultures, creeds, sexes, in Pasadena, when part of Pasadena was looking like they had to evacuate? Fires don't stop at the wilderness. They go and erase towns. They go down to the valleys and they try to erase towns. It affects all of us. But we must not forget that. There's got to be memorials. There's got to be ceremonies. There's got to be days of remembrance. There's got to be videos, documentaries. There's got to be justice. Because we have a lot of rights, but the most important human right is justice. It's, people say human needs are food, clothing, and shelter. Well, it's also medicine and justice. It's not something that's, that people can do without. We kind of go nuts without it. Good night, Desiree. Yeah, good night, you guys. And remember, watch out for the beavers and pay your protection money. They mean business. They mean dark business. Pay the beavers and we'll have fewer fires. That's all I gotta say. Pay the protection money. The rodent mafia is serious.